method of business would persist until the formation of the National Wrestling Alliance in 1948. The NWA as a central governing body, with its singular, undisputed world champion, would be absolute and undeniable. This control, combined with the expansion of the interstate highway system, and the inevitable popularity and availability of regional television, would usher in an era of wrestling that was defined by what would come to be known as the territory system. The territory system would dominate wrestling for nearly 4 decades. While the borders, authority, popularity, and obedience of individual NWA territories was in a near constant state of flux, to this day the impact and influence of these territories is still felt. Each territory had its own signature promoter and star. While it is impossible to cram these characteristics into a static, concrete map, we are damn sure going to try anyway.
So open up your eyes before it gets too late. Now one man, wrestle while you can. Hit the streetlights running, don't give a damn. A simple explanation that you'll never find. Sinners never sacrifice. We never leave love alone. Is hate really worth the price? Look at what we've done. Never care for compromise. Always threatening someone's life, and it feels like the end of the world.
All right, welcome to another edition of This Week in Pro Wrestling with your host. I'm Mike Monty. That's Jimmy Farrow. We thank you guys for joining us on this Friday night right before you sit back and you enjoy the wonderful views of Friday Night SmackDown, Friday Night Rampage, as you get prepared for another great week of pro wrestling. But on a serious note, Farrow, the world of wrestling was brought to its knees and everything froze. Pro Wrestler 38 dies in head-on car crash while taking daughters to cheerleading practice. Jay Briscoe was one half of the Briscoe brothers. Jay Briscoe, a Ring of Honor wrestler, died in a head-on car accident in Laurel, Delaware on January 17th that killed one other person, according to the Delaware State Police. He was 38, just a week short of his 39th birthday. Briscoe, who was not wearing a seatbelt, was driving a 2016 Chevy Silverado 2500 eastbound when the driver of a 2019 Chevy Silverado crossed the center line into Briscoe's lane where they crashed. The driver of the Silverado, identified as 27-year-old Lillian Terahan, was wearing a seatbelt, but she also died. Both she and Briscoe were pronounced dead at the scene. Thoughts, Jimmy Farrow?
I love Jay Briscoe. He was, I know it's independent. I know it's not the big company, but we just lost, and it's only my opinion, we lost one of the great badasses who spoke with conviction. His eyes used to pop out of his head. He was just a tremendous Attitude Era kind of promo guy. Obviously, he didn't keep it clean, with the words he used and stuff. But man, oh man, was this guy just badass. To me, he came across like Southern perfection. His gimmick with his brother was amazing. They are to the Indies what the Usos are to the WWE. I mean, if anyone came to me and said, okay, the greatest teams of the last bunch of years, you want to mention the Usos, but of course you'd have people mentioning FTR, and they wouldn't be wrong. I would agree. And, the Briscoes, I've always talked to you about the Briscoes. I've always wished that the Briscoes could have somehow been in WWE, but I agree with what you always said. It's the profanity that wouldn't get them in. Jay was only 38. I know they say he wasn't wearing a seatbelt, and of course he should have been wearing a seatbelt. But as I told you, when someone hits you head on coming from the other lane, you're being propelled backwards and smashed simultaneously. That seatbelt is just to help you in case you're going forwards. I know it doesn't mean anything, and he should have had his seatbelt on, but for them to mention that to me is like, okay, fine. But he's the impact. The man was chosen to die. And it's horrible. It's absolutely
it's that
horrible.
You brought that up. It's like, what are the odds? You're driving on that curve, and at that moment she crosses. It's just like, what the?
It's the luck of the bad, very bad, sad draw. Again, Jay Briscoe was one of my favorites, man. We didn't normally talk because we don't normally cover a lot of the smaller scenes and stuff. But in my heart, I always felt that if they had been given a chance to do something with WWE, they would have established themselves. They were 13 times the Ring of Honor champions. And yes, once upon a time, Ring of Honor did really mean something to the wrestling community. Really meant something to the wrestling community. He is a all-time tag team great, and rest in peace, Jay Briscoe. I'm in pain. I don't like it.
I can tell you that Farrell was a fan of Jay Briscoe, the Briscoe brothers. Again, not that I wasn't a fan. I just really wasn't interested. It's not my type of thing.
Right, and it wasn't on the platform you normally watch. Your Yankees, Yankees, WWE. It makes sense.
But again, this guy, wow, made a difference. But let me ask you this, Farrell. Thoughts on this guy?
Okay.
Some guy by the name of Paul D. Ciccio, guess he felt it was a good time to post this on Twitter. He took it down now, because I guess he's getting some heat. But this is what he posted. Rest in Power is trending because a white, homophobic wrestler died in a car crash. So I think it's a great time to remind everybody that the phrase is reserved exclusively for people who died due to them fighting systematic oppression. This guy's got over a couple million views on his tweet. What do you think of that, Farrell?
I think he's cordially invited to go fuck himself. You like dancing on the dead, asshole? Thanks for the message. But unfortunately, your timing makes me think of a more important message that I've got for you.
What makes people think that...
Can I put the finger down now?
You can do whatever you want.
Because it feels comfortable this way.
It's the guy...
It kind of does.
You might have a feeling about somebody, dislike or whatever else.
Sure.
But to put up that at that time is nothing but looking for attention. You have lost your message if you truly believed in what you were writing.
Of course.
You lost it because of your timing.
Right.
Okay? And
because of the fact that you come across as a cold asshole.
Right.
Absolutely. No one wants to hear a preacher who's a prick.
And how about everybody in the world who's made a mistake? If everybody didn't forget your mistake, no one would get along.
Right.
I mean, look, I don't really know. Like, I saw what he had said a while back, and that actually hurt their career, right?
Right.
They were kind of blackballed, and professionally it was probably a mistake.
Right.
He made a mistake.
Yeah.
But the man just died.
With his family in the car.
Family that...
In the car.
It's like, guy,
in the car.
Have some common sense. Why does everybody feel like they've got to get tweeted and everything? Just stop it.
Because we've allowed an electronic device to give us all, well, not all of us, thank God, a very false sense of power. A very shallow false sense of power.
Hey guys, it's Mike Monty, one half of Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast. And we want to reach out to all the fans out there who have supported our show to say thank you. Thank you for making 2021 one of our best years. And one of our best years was because of Anchor. Anchor, the way that you can have your voice heard. You can be just like us. Record your own podcast. Use the Anchor tools to edit your podcast. Use it on a phone. Use it on your computer. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And best of all with Anchor, they're totally free. So be just like Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monty and the Pharaoh. We're looking together for a great 2022. We've got huge guests coming on board. Oh, yeah. You're probably wondering why Jimmy's not here right now. Well, he's prepping for one of the best interviews we're about to have, and we're going to surprise someone with. So hang aboard with us, and don't forget, be like us and use Anchor.
Ashley Pugh, the wife of Jay Briscoe, shared an update on her personal Facebook page and asked for prayers for her children. We need prayers. Gracie is on her way to surgery on her back. Jameen would want a whole world praying for his little girl. Pugh said, I hope I'm saying it right. We believe in the power of prayer. Prayer for the doctors and everyone working on her. Pray for her precious legs to move again. Pray for Jay Lee, who had some pretty serious injuries but is stable and resting. Pray for Gannon, waiting at home. Pray for strength for all of us. We have a long, long road ahead.
38. Yeah. I got nothing else, man, other than hurt pretty much right now.
What becomes, and this really doesn't matter, but I have to ask it.
Okay.
What becomes of the Briscoe legacy?
Oh, the Briscoe legacy was safe. They had cemented their legacy probably a good 10 years ago, coming from, and I'm speaking from the wrestling purist portion of my wrestling soul. They were already safe 10 years ago, and oddly enough, when I was turning the Bartman from Wisteria Hall onto wrestling, one of the first things I showed him was a Briscoes match where it was Jay versus Adam Cole before Adam Cole had arrived here. And it was a no-holds-barred, unbelievable contest. And Bart freaking started to love wrestling. You know, I started, of course, you show him The Rock in Austin, it's all over.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right.
But these were some of the things that we were, that was going on at the time. NXT was building, selling out the Barclays when he got into it. They're safe. Their legacy is safe. If anything, sadly enough, you know what happens, how Raven's claws for shoulders turned to angel's wings after a tragedy. I mean, he was a tough man. I think the legacy will probably be even bigger because of the sad tragedy. You know how this works, when someone's cut short. Kurt Cobain turned into the Jim Morrison of his time, or the Jimi Hendrix, when you're cut short. So I think their legacy is very safe. They will be considered one of the great tag teams of their generation. But, the bottom line, how we really ultimately, it's a shame he didn't get to play in the Super Bowl.
Pharaoh and I were speaking about the
WrestleMania.
Rumble,
It's a
and
shame.
we were speaking about, first we opened up with the fact that Cody Rhodes was announced for the Rumble, and Pharaoh had thought that, man, I think that's a mistake. They did. It should have been a surprise. And I said, but Pharaoh, the one thing we have to think about, it's a good thing, right? Because they announced it because they must have something really in store.
Well, if it's bigger than Cody, then you know who it's got to be.
Well,
or it should be, or maybe it's another one of those. You know who it's got.
Well,
to
the
be.
reason I'm bringing
Top,
it up is if
oh
you
my
remember
God.
what I said to you, we were going over names.
Yeah, we were.
And again, I wasn't a fan of theirs, but what did I say? I go, what about the Briscoes? And we were like, whoa, that's pretty cool.
We
I
were
go,
just saying
and we were
that.
going, is that bigger than Cody? You brought up CM Punk.
That's bigger than Cody. If he showed up for
Briscoe's bigger than Cody?
No, not currently. No, but that doesn't take anything away from what they were.
Would you have popped heavy if the Briscoes?
I would have lost my mind, but I'm not sure the WWE audience would
Right.
know who
But
they're
Punk-
dealing with.
Punk would be huge.
Punk is forget it. Punk crosses across the way Jericho crosses across, the way Cena crosses across. It's fair, sure. Some are bigger stars than others.
Well,
but
Cena,
the three
I
guys
think
just
Cena
mentioned,
will.
they
I think
cut
Cena
across.
will be there, but
Right.
again,
To
I
the
don't.
Rumble
I think so. I think maybe I don't know.
feels like John's more especially selective at this point. Like if he does do something, it'll be a match of some kind. He's to be thrown out at the Royal Rumble, John Cena. I almost can't see that. At
The
this stage
belief
for
right
him.
now from the fans or the media is The Rock will not be part of WrestleMania this year. I am totally disagreeing. In my mindset, and I'm positive, The Rock will be an entrance at the Royal Rumble, and that's the thing. That's going to be the thing. And that show is going to end with a Roman Reigns, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson square down, and we've never seen anything hotter than that.
If they're smart and they're able to get The Rock free from Hollywood, they should do that. We've been wanting that for the last 2 or 3 WrestleManias, so they should do that. But it's weird. You know how every year my luck is pretty good with the Rumble winners. When I'm thinking about it, I can't get Bobby Lashley's name out of my head.
There's no way Lashley wins a Rumble, dude.
I don't know why. Because I think that they're going to eventually have Lashley go after Roman again. I don't know why I'm thinking
Dude, it's
this.
WrestleMania.
I know, but don't forget there was other times where, like, I said Nakamura's going to win, and everybody thought I was insane.
Right.
The 50 greatest.
Yeah, but was
when they had
Nakamura in the
50
main event, though, at that WrestleMania? No, he was like a sub-main
He
event.
won
It was a bigger
he
match.
fought AJ for the belt.
Yeah, but that wasn't the main event, though, right?
Well, it was probably something sexier on the card.
Yeah,
If that's what
right.
you're getting at, but he
Yeah.
was at least the co-main
No, I
event.
get you. I understand.
Because it was him and
But
AJ
this
for the world title.
This is Roman. This is the head of the table.
Right.
This is the main event.
right.
His opponent, look, is Cody Rhodes big for WrestleMania? Yeah, but to me, it's not WrestleMania. It's not. Is
You know
Seth
what,
Rollins
though?
big?
We've had,
Yes.
but yeah, I agree with what you're saying in principle, but it's because of your expectations that you're saying this.
Right.
In previous WrestleManias, we haven't been given The Rock. We've been given just regular old
Gotcha.
Roman Reigns versus Rollins, or Roman Reigns versus Lesnar, or and Lesnar's not The Rock. Okay. Even Lesnar's
I
not
don't
The
wanna
Rock.
forget
the
the
Rock
women.
is in another stratosphere.
I don't want to
at
forget the
this
women,
point.
but who will the big woman surprise be? I'm saying Naomi,
I want Nia Jax back.
which I love.
Come
I
back and
love
break
that.
some noses by accident.
Nia
all on
Jax
purpose.
comes back.
Yeah.
How hot would that be?
I'm even thinking that Nia's part of that family bloodline, isn't she?
Yeah.
What if Nia gets involved to somehow either protect Roman or affect Roman with the men's Royal Rumble? What if she's in the Royal Rumble? The men's.
Could be.
Didn't they ever do something like that?
I think so.
They did.
Yeah,
I
they
know
did.
they've done it in the
They
past.
did. I don't know if
China
Nia
was in
was
the
in it.
Royal Rumble.
Absolutely.
Yeah, why not? Nia Jax comes in, tosses out a few people. Reigns is like, "Why are you throwing my car?"
How did you like the
cousins out of the
square
ring?"
off between Rhea Ripley and
Nice.
what's his name, the bloodline guy?
The bloodline guy?
Not the Usos, but
Fucking
the,
Solo
thank you,
Sikoa,
Solo.
baby.
Yeah.
I love that.
How great!
I
Rhea
love that.
Ripley is becoming one of my favorites.
But you know what? Even with, boy, I'm going to sound like Archie Bunker. Here we go. Even with the undeniable, if Rhea walked in the room, I'm running out the back door. Let me
Right.
get that clear.
Right, gotcha.
Destroy me, okay? I'm
Right.
running. But even with Rhea Ripley's height, tone, power, Solo Sikoa would snap her neck.
Right.
So even then, even though I thought it was a cool face-off because of the characters,
Right.
the realist part of me was like, "Oh, stop it! He'll break you in half." Is that wrong of me? Please
Not at
bail
all.
me out.
Not at all.
Thank you for bailing me.
All right, last and final
Water.
thing. Last Saturday, Mickie James became the new
Oh, yeah.
Impact Women's Champion and
Again.
avoided
Okay.
permanent retirement. The question to you, Farrow, is this.
Go ahead.
Now, understand how beautiful
I like
Mickie
Mickey.
James
Oh, I'm a
is.
fan of Mickey James.
One of the
As
most
a wrestler,
beautiful women, great wrestler.
she's gorgeous.
But I
We
ask
know.
you this.
Yeah.
Is Mickie James
Mm-hmm.
on the Mount Rushmore of women's wrestling?
If you're only going to name 4, I would be hard pressed. But is she one of the absolute penthouse, all-time great first ballot women Hall of Famers? You bet your country bumpkin.
Who's
You
on,
like how I
who
did
is-
that?
Who's on your
Little country?
Mount, who's on your Mount Rushmore
Well,
women?
Charlotte,
Right.
Obviously, I'm putting Moolah there. I don't give a
I
crap what
agree.
anybody says.
I agree.
Okay, Moolah, Charlotte, and then it gets a little interesting. Becky is responsible for so effing much.
Mm-hmm.
Main eventing WrestleMania. That's Becky, the man. That's the
Right, gotcha.
Becky's got to be on there unless you're going to be Hulk Hogan ignorant.
All right.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So we got 3. Who's the 4th? That's a big question because you've brought up Medusa. Mm-hmm. Then we've got the ones that we know belong, like Sherry Martel,
China.
China. We're going to have to bump somebody.
And let's
How do
not
you
forget
bump
Wendy.
Moolah?
Not forget.
How do you bump
How
Charlotte?
about Wendy Richter?
Wendy Richter too.
So who's
Can
your
we have
who's your
an
fourth?
8-headed?
Who's your
Mount Rushmore?
4th?
I don't know. Moolah would have to be one of them.
Well,
Charlotte
Moolah's
would-
there.
Let's establish
Charlotte and Becky. You already said they're in.
I think they are.
I'm a little iffy on Becky, but you're right.
The main event of
You're right.
WrestleMania.
You're right. You're right. You're right.
Was
You're
that
right.
because of Ronda? Now we're going to put her up there? She's not
Does,
getting up
does
there.
Sasha Banks find her way up on the
She's
Mount
close.
Rushmore?
So's Bailey. She's close, but no.
How about Soraya?
I want, you know what? Sherry Martel.
And I'm just going to go away from that, and I'm going to say Wendy Richter.
Nice.
With that, this has been This has been This Week in Pro Wrestling. Enjoy SmackDown. Enjoy Rampage. I'm Mike Monty.
This is DeFaro. We'll see you next week in wrestling. Later.